Hello, this is Jeff Welch from Welch Family Homestead, and I have some new bees coming in, so I need to put some beehives together, and I thought you would enjoy the process and let me show you how easy it is. So I'm going to take you through the process. We're going to be putting together some deep boxes. These are for the broods. These are what we call brood boxes. The brood boxes will obviously hold the queen and as she broods and as she lays her eggs. So let's get started. We're going to start out with a brood box, putting a brood box together. This is just pine, and the way this is going to go together, as you can see, it's notched. The glue that I'm using is TiteBond III Ultimate Wood Glue. It's good for interior, exterior. It's waterproof, and it's not toxic to your bees. You want to make sure you keep everything as non-toxic as possible when you're putting your beehives together. I have a little paintbrush here. It's just a little artist brush, and that'll help me move the glue around a little bit. And the first thing you want to do before you put the glue on it is make sure it's going to fit, okay? Because if your cuts are not right, and it doesn't go in, you already have your glue on it, then you're messed up, okay? So what I do is I line them up like this, and I make sure it's going to fit in, and it is. You see how it's fitting in? Okay. Now, I'm just going to put some glue in the areas where this is going to meet. Okay, I'm not going to put a lot. The glue actually is stronger than the wood once it dries. And I'll wipe off the excess with a wet paper towel, which will be fine. We're not going to try to be perfect here. So we have that one glued, ready to go on that end. Now we're going to glue this in. So I'm going to put this like this. I got the handle here on this side. I've got this handle here on this side as well, so you can see. And I'm going to put this in place just like this, and we're going to hammer it in place with a mallet. You see it going together here, so I'll kind of turn it this way to you so you can see it better. If there's any areas where it's warped or what have you, you can always come back and put a screw or a nail in it, but I suggest drilling it first when you do. And take your time, enjoy the process. Don't make it stressful. This is the best life ever, is working with nature and enjoying the process. If anything is off at all, if there's any cracks in it, in the seams or what have you, they're going to fill that up naturally with propolis. Even when you stack your boxes on each other, the deep box, as far as your brood boxes and your super boxes, they're going to seam those boxes together with their propolis, and you'll have to pry them apart when you check on the bees. Now, it's best not to use a metal hammer. I always use a rubber mallet. Some of these fit pretty tight, and the last thing you want to do is to break or damage your hive. So here we are. We have a brood box complete, as you can see. Now we're going to put together a super box, and the super box is going to sit on top of this. Supers are shorter. They're not as tall as the They're not as tall. Notice this is the deep box. These are the shallow boxes. These are what the honey is going to be deposited in. This is where the brood is going to be deposited in. I'm going to hold this one like this so you can see it going together a little better. One more piece right here to finish gluing. Now, if you'll notice, when you put these together, it's going to straighten it all out. That's what's going to be so beautiful about it. It's the way they're cut. It gives them strength, and it also squares them up at the same time. And there is what we call a super box, because the supers for the honey goes in this particular layer. Now, this is what we call the bottom of the box. This is the bottom base. I'm turning it this way because this is the front. You notice the front has the landing pad. The signboard is going to go up under it like this right here. It'll slide in the bottom, and this will give you the ability to check by pulling this out to see if there's any mites that have fallen through, because they'll kill the mites. The worker bees will kill the mites and they'll drop through the bottom. And if you do see some dead ones, there's going to be some live ones you need to deal with as well. And the first box that we put together is what we call the brood box. And we're going to put it just like this. Make sure all the sides are even. This is going to go in the bottom. We're going to put it like this so they can come through the smaller hole. That slides right underneath the front edge, as you can see here. Slides right under the front edge to give them entrance, okay? Now, if you have a larger hive where it's growing, you need a wider entrance. You're going to turn it around like this so they have a larger opening. This is where the eggs are going to be laid. This is where the queen is going to be staying. After you put your frames in here, and I'll show that to you in a moment about putting the frame, then we put this on. This is what we call the Queen Excluder. The Queen Excluder keeps the queen down in the brood box. Keeps all the brooding chambers in the deep box. You don't have to do this, but you can do this. The drones and the queen will mainly be staying in the lower portion here. Then the super goes on top like this. Then on top of that, we have what we call the top cover. Top cover has an area here for a vent for them to be able to get in and out. Goes on here just like this. And then here's the top cover, and the cover is basically just the lid, telescopic lid, and it'll go onto the top of your beehive. The top here, the top cover, this is important. This is where you can put your feeder, because when you first get your beehives in, you have to feed them so they can start building comb as quickly as possible, because they're a new hive. They don't have any old comb in there to work with, to steal from, or what have you, so you have to give them something. So what I will do is to create a mixture of water and honey, and I'll put it in a feeder inside of this hole, close up the top. You want to keep the top closed as quick as possible so you don't have robber bees coming in from other hives. And then these bees will start building very fast. And if I feed them a lot, I'll be putting more supers on here very quickly. Now, okay, these are the brood foundations, and these are the super foundations, okay? Super foundations are where they're going to be building their honey. These are all coated with wax, by the way. They're very sticky. And this is where the brood chamber, the deep boxes that we that we put together before. The brood boxes, the reason they're black, the foundations are black, is so it makes it easier for you to see the brood, because it's going to have darker, it needs a darker background to be able to see the larvae back in there. So here is the brood foundation height. Here is the super foundation height. Let's look at what that looks like once we get to the next stage here. Again, I'm just going to put a little glue, and we are going to add a little brad nail to these as well, because you're always prying these out of the chamber. It's just this simple. You put it on here just like this. Notice how tight that fits. I barely had it touched, and it goes down on it just like that. We're going to do this other one the same way. And by the way, this TiteBond glue, I do not get sponsored by them. There's no one paying me to do this video. It's just my preference. But you do want to make sure that this groove is up when you're doing that. This is the top. We're about to put the bottom on. But the first thing we have to do is we have to slide a foundation into that groove. As you can see, just like that. And again, we have a groove here. We're going to slide this into that, this into this, and we have to get it just right. Okay, so now we have a brood frame ready to go. Now, let me show you how that goes into the brood box. It's going to slide right in here just like this, very nicely. And we're going to fill this up with 10 frames, just like this. Okay. Let's put one of the supers together. They go together just exactly the same. They will be building their honey on this, which is so exciting, right? Because that's what you're doing it for in the first place. And again, you got the groove. You see this groove. This groove is going to line up with the foundation. Okay. Now we have another one complete. There's our super foundation that will go into our shallow box. These are called medium boxes. These are not the smallest boxes. They actually make them smaller than this. But that'll hold a lot of honey. That will go in here just like this. There'll be 10 of them going across here. That concludes us putting together the components. So here we have our brood frames. They'll go in here just like that. We have our base down at the bottom. As you can see, we have this that's going to be set like this so that all the bees will come into the small hole at first until the hive grows. The next thing that we're going to do is put the Queen Excluder on top of this, and then we'll put the super box on top of the brood box. And the super box is where the honey will be created. On top of that, we will have the top panel. Then we will put our telescoping top on, which is covered with aluminum, and it's white. It will keep them cooler in the summertime. This is a complete hive build out. Now obviously I have a lot more to do here. I have some more foundations to put in, frames to build, and I have another hive to build just like this because I have 2 hives. This is the basic setup of the hive at first, and then as they start building, I will add another one of these and just keep stacking them up higher and higher. And I may even add another brood chamber as well once they mature. What the goal here is with these new hives this year is not necessarily to get much honey from them the first year, but to build the colony. And then they can feed off of their nectar and feed off the honey through the winter, and I'll still be able to feed them through the feeder hole here. If they're low on honey, I can actually subsidize them. So they're making honey not just for you, they're making honey for themselves. They're making honey for their own survival. So that's the key for you to be able to work with them with a balance of allowing them to have what they need so that they can give you what you need. And we will be installing the hives into these boxes here. And so that'll be on the next part of this video.